saith the Lord. So saith the Lord.
Welcome back to Mages and Murderdads, the best show dedicated to the Baldur's Gate franchise and beyond. I'm Cameron, and I play Chickelvar the Sorcerer.
And I am Danny, and I play Balthazar the Barbarian.
This is episode 42, and we did something special today.
We did something really special. We are finished with the Baldur's Gate franchise.
Cue Daniel Day-Lewis.
I'm finished.
It'll be funny. I'll add that in there. Probably.
It's him saying, "I'm done. I'm done with it, y'all."
Dun, 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 dun. I don't know if Rites of Spring is the song that's used there, but it's something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, and it really wasn't. It really wasn't that much additional stuff.
Yeah.
What would you say? 10% for this episode?
I mean, if you're thinking about screens, it's 2 screens.
It's 2 screens. We haven't really done our screen measurement quality or ratio before, but you are correct. There was a screen, and then there was another screen.
Correct, yeah.
And that was the entirety of this final little thing. And I think what we're going to do in this episode is we're going to talk about the end here. We're going to talk about the kind of Throne of Bhaal as a whole, and then we'll do another episode. The next episode will be kind of our big reflecting on the franchise
Decompression,
because there's really not that much for us to talk about here. But I think we'll have a fruitful conversation.
But, Kunzelman, I know that there's going to be one viewer listener out there, and this is the first episode that they watch. And we're going to tell them, hey, this is the end of the franchise. There's 41 episodes before now. Give us, in 30 seconds, the story up until this point.
Oh, gosh. That is impossible. For the entirety of the Baldur's Gate franchise?
Yeah.
Once you were born and you were a little baby and your dad was the god of murder, Bhaal, and you were in a cult of Bhaal and you had a little brother, and this guy Gygaxian came and he took your little brother and he said, hey, I'm going to rescue one of you two, and he didn't rescue your brother, so he took you to Candlekeep, and at Candlekeep you were raised your whole life and no one ever told you were a little bitty baby child of Bhaal, and then when you grew up, Gygaxian said, hey, let's take you out somewhere else, and you took you out to the woods, and you were just a little, guy hanging out, level 1 dirt farmer / book learner, and guess who was there? There's a guy named Saravok there, and he was out there, and he murdered your dad, and he murdered your dad because he was, guess what, your little bitty baby brother all the way back there, but you don't know that until you play 90 hours of this game. But you went to all these different places, and you decided to go and become the protector of Baldur's Gate, and you killed your baby brother, and then you went on to Werewolf Island, you did that, and then you fought a demon, and you did that, and you went to Durlag's Tower, and you did that too, and then there's Baldur's Gate 2, and a guy named John Irenicus stole you, and you found out that your childhood friend named Imowen was also your little baby sister, who also presumably was in that, cult thing with your little baby brother, and then they all went and did a big-ass adventure, stole her soul, went to an insane asylum for the magic people, got betrayed by Saman Havarian, went to the Underdark, did a bunch of stuff down there, came up from the Underdark, fought a bunch of elves, went to the different elf palace, fought different elves and elementals, and then went and fought John Irenicus. Then you had a bunch of other brothers and sisters that you didn't know, and they might not be your little baby brother or your sister, and then you fought all of them and killed them one by one, and then they all came back together in death essence to another character who you did not know was the bad guy, and then lo and behold, they were the bad guy, and then guess what? In this episode, we killed that person.
Excellent job.
That is all of Baldur's Gate.
And there's your whole week of editing where you screen that one for one with the relevant footage in your hard drive.
No, it's not going to happen. That is not going to happen. Maybe I'll get some footage of me flipping through the Baldur's Gate novels.
Yeah. Excellent job. That's the story, and we're ending it today.
It's over. Thank God.
So I lay the death blow on the other Balthazar,
Yes.
the good one.
This is the end of last episode.
Yeah.
Good, yes. Technically good Balthazar.
Yeah. I kill the good Balthazar. And it's time. I get that vision from the solar, and Melisandre is revealed to actually be a Melisandre. Oh. Mm-hmm. And she's the bad one. She's the real bad one.
Mm-hmm. She's the true bad, because she was a priestess of Bhaal who, like, helped make this whole thing happen.
She facilitated the ritual. And
Yes.
while she herself is not a Bhaal spawn, she is immensely powerful because of her inside knowledge of the way this ritual works.
Yeah, she knows how to, like, split and then put back together Bhaal essence. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the way that I've understood it.
It's like a chemist, but instead of meth, it's Bhaal essence.
Yes, it's like a carpenter, but instead of a fallout shelter, it's Bhaal essence.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You have nowhere to go except the pocket plane. This is where you go.
Yeah, so when you kill Balthazar, you teleport to the Solar. The Solar does what it always does, and it says, hey, guess what? Hey
pepperonis.
Hey, pepperonis. There's another challenge here for you in the pocket plane. Anyway, go do that. Bye. And when you do that challenge, you can then go fight Melisandre. Mm-hmm. So that's what you got to do.
That is where we are. The lineup on Danny's side, we've got Balthazar, level 40, half-orc barbarian, has 14 charges of the high-level ability Greater Whirlwind.
Oh my God.
Just chain them back to back. Wielding +5 Fobane, a bastard sword that drains the life essence of its enemies and bestows it upon Balthazar. I had to go to the first level of Watcher's Keep, which is not covered in this show ever, and just kill like an ogre or something, and it just dropped it, and then I upgraded it somehow. In the other hand, depending on my mood, either a warhammer named Cromfair, which raises my strength to 25 and slays elementals and golems with a single hit, or Runehammer +5, which slays undead in a single hit. You know, depending on my mood. Mm-hmm. That's the lineup.
Flavor.
That's the lineup on Danny's side. What does Cameron have over there?
You know, just before we get into my lineup, I do want to say that while there have been a lot of weird choices by this administration, the reintroduction of gladiatorial combat by the Stein administration is pretty cool. Like, I feel like I've been able to directly translate some of the knowledge that I've gained in Baldur's Gate to, you know, my Saturday afternoons.
Which is pit fighting.
It's pit fighting.
I think that it's good that this stuff came along because you weren't exactly like gung-ho about sports. You've never been that interested in, for example, American football.
You're right.
But this is finally an athletic endeavor you can get behind.
It's got the individualism of tennis and the long-term health impact of American football.
Yes, exactly.
And those are the things I like about those activities, of course. You don't have to depend on anyone, and you lose a finger or two.
Occasionally.
Yeah. Anyway, so I've got same team as before. Ticklefar, level question mark sorcerer.
I mean, yeah, could you give a range on these levels? Are they like...
It's probably level 29. He's not level 30.
Okay.
So 28, 29, I would say. And so they're all around this level range. We got Mazzy, who's got like a level 4 short sword. She's good to go with. Or a +4, not a level 4. +4 short sword, good
it's
armor.
It's a sentient sword.
Stuff.
It is level 4. It's a level 4, like, carpenter.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Level 8 dirt farmer, level 4 carpenter sword, multi-class. Then we have Viconia doing priest stuff. We've got Nira doing wizard stuff. We got Saravok, slaying things. My little bitty baby brother, of course. And then we have basically just Balthazar in my party. And then we have, bring up the rear, Valigar, which commenters said would be bad. And lo and behold, isn't great. So that's my olive branch to the commenters.
Well, there you go.
You weren't wrong.
Well, there you go.
So there's this thing called the Ravager.
Yes, in the final chamber, you go in. If you walk like halfway up, like the kind of little tunnel to this final chamber, there's a cutscene. The cutscene rearranges your whole party into like this standard array of like, I think like three people and 3 people, or 2 people and 4 people. Yeah, it's like a little wedge.
Yeah, it's because there's a cutscene in it like teleports you, basically to new positions. That's important for this.
Very important. And the Slayer, this particular demon that has always represented Bhaal, appears, and the demon says, "Hey, I'm the Ravager, and I am this final aspect of you, and you're gonna have to defeat me if you want to get out of here, but you're not going to defeat me because I'm the Ravager." I think that's basically what he says, right?
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of dialogue. Or it doesn't have a lot of dialogue.
And then a fight begins. And let me give you like the tail of the tape on this fight, right?
Okay.
Tail of the tape. The Ravager is a 500 hit point creature. It has a very high magic resistance. It has a high resistance of everything, including all physical damage. It casts this kind of aura of blades type spell, where anything within that aura takes persistent damage.
It's the high-level priest spell.
It doesn't really bother chasing you down, because if you start running away, it will just throw magical daggers at you that home in on you.
Classic.
Meanwhile, all around the Ravager, probably I would say about 6 to 10 animated blades appear. The moment you kill one, another spawns immediately. So there will always be like that number, 6 to 10, somewhere in there. And you cannot leave this chamber. And you actually can't even go too far down the ramp to where like the door is sealed. Like you cannot go. Like, it seems a little strange, but you can barely even go down that ramp. Pretty tight little arena, too. This is kind of the tail of the tape of the fight.
Yeah.
How'd that go?
For me?
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you a little thing that I discovered between basically during the last 3 episodes. I don't care about the fights in these games anymore. Like, at all. We had a kind of a long discussion last episode, in episode 41, about, me being generally displeased with how this game, like, the high-level tactical combat as such. And I, understand how it is supposed to work as a wizard, right? You get your contingencies. You get your simulacrum. You proliferate wizards. You proliferate their ability to debuff your enemies and then chain spells in one turn, right? So you want to be casting 3 or 4 high-level spells in one turn based on contingency, wish spells, all kinds of stuff like that. I get that, and I know that I could put in the 2 or 3 hours it would take to really make all that happen and understand how to use it really well. Like, I understand how they work, but to maximum efficiency, to basically play the game in the way that you're playing it, but for a wizard. And I find that soul-sucking. Like, all of the joy, and I really enjoy these games, like the Baldur's Gate games so far, but basically Throne of Bhaal as a expansion, it has sucked all of the joy out of the Baldur's Gate franchise for me. I actively hate it. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it seems like we've talked about the way in which combat is programmed in these games, and we've talked about the similarities between Throne of Bhaal and Siege of Dragonspear, in which the way in which combat is made. I think the big difference is Siege of Dragonspear happens in between Baldur's Gate 1 and Baldur's Gate 2. And that's kind of like bread and butter D&D fighting, right?
Yeah, it's
Fireballs.
awesome. Like that's actually a really good, because it's what, like level 6-ish to 10 or something like that? Yeah, a good level. Yeah, fireballs. Exactly. Skull trap.
Skull trap. Cast web.
+1 arrows.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff, right? And so I think that there's a certain level like where, real tactical, got to get all the combat, but once you take that same level of difficulty and like the amount of care you need, and you add on to that all of the high level abilities and like end game spell casting, which involves basically like programming all of your little people, right?
Yes.
Contingency when I see an enemy so that like these particular spells go off, all of that, right?
Yeah.
It just becomes deeply, it's so minutia based. It's so fiddly, right?
Well, it's just like never been what I've been in these games for either, right? Like I really enjoy the narrative building blocks, and the weakest parts of the combat or weak / the parts of combat I didn't care for, I have always been able to either A, brute force my way through, or just kind of grin and bear it until,
Until it clicked.
Until it clicked, and then you got something else, right? And then we get some like good beefy narrative chunks. But in fact, in this expansion, there actually aren't beefy narrative chunks. I think it annihilates so much of the narrative before, because you're really finding out like actually like whatever you have done throughout your long history as a ball spawn doesn't matter even a little bit. Melisandre was doing this the whole time. It was always going to be this way, no matter what choices you made in Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. And I know why that happens. Like, programmatically, I understand, like, continuity between the games is, you can't assure that. All those different things. But, I don't know. It feels emptied out of any kind of characterization that I would have. And so there's not even that, like, oh, but at least the narrative will pay off in a really interesting way. It's really just like, I'm fighting the Ravager now.
Yeah.
It's going to suck.
I guess that is you can take like in Baldur's Gate 2, which I think Baldur's Gate 2 is the combat in 2nd edition or 3rd edition. I haven't played 5th, but I have like a deep feeling it's the same as in 5th or 4th edition, right? Like, that's as high level combat as you ever want to play in any D&D game. You go any higher than like level 16, no one's going to have any fun. Right?
Yeah, because it should all be like space wizard shit at that point, right? Like, which is awesome. Like, that's super cool to me that at like level 12 you can just be like, all right, well, we're gonna go to hell like every now and again. We're gonna fight demons and shit down there.
But
and
shit's gonna that stuff's gonna, you're gonna be bargaining with demons. Like,
exactly.
There's less and less combat.
It is the threat of fighting that, like, you liberate yourself from having to ever hit anyone with a sword. And if you do hit them with a sword, it's going to be like you are slaying them with some magical weapon that, like, it becomes abstracted fighting, right?
Yeah.
You're not going toe-to-toe with rogues or whatever.
So what does the Ravager fight look like with Ticklevar's party?
I just tried it a couple times, and those swords spawn in, and they just start wailing on you. And I just immediately console commanded it. I did it like 2 times. And I was like, no, screw this. I'm not doing this.
Let me at least say this, right? And this might be a little harsh, but I think earlier you said that Throne of Bhaal has sucked all of the joy out of like some of this gameplay. Here's just maybe a coincidence, maybe it's a cause, right? You unlocked console commands. You have robbed yourself of the sense of accomplishment and that normally overcoming these challenges would provide, because once you use it, you can never go back. So you've completely you've kind of neutered the experience for yourself. What say you?
You Dark Soul me, bro?
Am I
saying?
Yeah.
Are you Dark Soul difficulty mode? I mean, I think that probably is true, but. And at earlier levels, I think I would have definitely regretted that. At the point where we are basically 2 fights away from finishing the game, and one of those fights is going to take me 2 hours, there is no payoff good enough. Just period. And I would feel that way about any other game. I was tweeting about Nier Automata like a while back. few weeks ago, and I feel the very same way about that. Like, there are some difficulty spikes in that game that, despite knowing what comes next and getting through them, quote unquote, legitimately, they are not worth it. They are bad. I kind of feel that way about basically this in all ways. So I mean, point well taken. Maybe I have lost something. Never in my life would I ever be like, well, actually, I beat Throne of Bhaal without console commands. Like everyone else. And also, maybe this is something to do with it too. I've beaten this game before without console commands. Like in my lifetime. So
how did that
I don't
work?
need it. I don't know.
Do you think your party was just higher
teenager.
level?
Yes, I'd done every quest and side quest in the game. And probably done a lot of fighting in between while like listening to music. Yeah. I probably, if not power leveled all the way up, power leveled quite a bit. So.
Well, Balthazar had to approach this fight from many different angles. I found that the animated blades were on their own a very formidable challenge. The Ravager does not chase you really, and you can actually get him into the fog of war. And however, the animated blades always know where you are. Like when one spawns off screen in the fog of war, it will immediately like come for you, right?
Yeah.
And even with every potion, every relevant scroll, every possible buff at Balthazar's disposal, and Balthazar's two summons, which is like the Iron Horn of Valhalla and the spider figurine, and with the Ring of Gax, which I got from that horrible lich named after one of the founders of this game. Even the animated blades, it was just a matter of time. Like they would attrition me. Like I could maybe only kill like 6 or 7, right? That plus being in the wall of blades of the Ravager really did a number. So I put my nose up against this for 2 hours, and then I unlocked console commands and I killed it. So
Yeah, you did. I didn't. I might go through and get our Discord messages, but you were like, all right, sweet, I'm going to play this. I'll be ready in like an hour. And then I had a little bit of a time delay this afternoon, so I had to do some stuff. And then when I got home, I was like, all right, you ready to record? And you were like, yeah, no, I'm still fighting the Ravager. So I knew things had gone bad.
No, it was, it is beyond me to figure out how it would ever be possible. Maybe I built Balthazar suboptimally. Maybe it would be possible to do this solo.
Do you have hardiness? The 40% damage resistance spell? Or special ability?
The high level ability? I don't.
Yeah.
So it might be that with Greater Whirlwind, you're supposed to be specializing in two-handed weapons, like the two-handed swords, because that would maximize. Or if you're using 2 one-handed swords, maybe you're supposed to go critical strike. So all of those things. But at maximum level, I can get. I think I got him once to injured. I also spent a good hour, like, I recruited I recruited a full party.
Whoa.
Like, I recruited a full party from the pocket plane. And the problem is when you recruit them, even after you level up, they'll only be level 16.
Oh, gosh.
So you are locked out. Like, there is not a way to, like, get a full party that is, like, appropriate leveled. So I did not have access to, like, the spells that I needed to really be able to do anything.
Deeply, my feeling,
and this is the weird thing, right? Is I feel like all the other fights in this game with Balthazar, you playing the way I've been playing, have been like eminently beatable, including like a bunch of dragons that you were just like, I can't do this, right? And this is like just so this like DPS race when this monster that has 500 hit points and like I'll hit it and it's like Balthazar deals 5 damage, parentheses 39 resisted.
Yeah.
Garbage.
Yeah, that's rough. I mean, this is the disconnect, or yet another disconnect between like the intent of the rules or the capability of the D&D rule set versus the capability of the Baldur's Gate rule set. Is that I have the ability to cast Wish from one of my characters, and I could just wish that thing dead in real life, or in
a pen and paper campaign.
No, in real life.
Oh, in real life.
Yes, you cast Wish. No, but yeah, in a pen and paper campaign, right? I could be like, I would like to strip its spell protections or something like that. And then like the D&D, rule set / the DM would have to make a judgment call about how that works, this sort of extra gamey thing. But here, I've got to play by the rules that the game has set forward, which is just like, contingencies and whatnot. Anyway, whatever. This fight sucks. But then we get to go to the actual real life throne for the Throne of Bhaal.
In defeating the Ravager and in leaving the pocket plane, you destroy the pocket plane forever. Cespenar is gone. All of, like, if you summoned all of like those people, all of your friends, and you like summon them to the pocket plane, and you left to go to the Throne of Bhaal, ostensibly they're all dead forever.
Yeah, they're dead. They're dead now.
And the Throne of Bhaal is just like a pale green series of platforms floating in space.
It's like a leftover map from Planescape Torment. That's what it is. Looks like to me.
I mean, you've already said that the pocket plane itself looked very reminiscent of like some leftover assets from Planescape.
It really does. It's really weird. But so we get there. Melisandre is floating in a big green. We get a cutscene. She's floating in this big green column
of energy,
of essence, I guess, of ball juice. Oh, I did not mean to.
You're not editing that out.
No, I cannot even believe. I can't believe that. That's real. My wife's shaking her head in shame.
I can't believe you've done this.
Like ball essence. And she's like absorbing it and conduiting it and all kinds of stuff. And you show up and she says, hey, we're going to fight now. We're going to do a big fight. Oh, a very funny thing before we talk about that, though. So I guess your romance or whatever that you have, there's a little conversation with the romance person before you go to the Throne of Bhaal. And mine is Viconia. And Viconia said to send Melisandre screaming to her death. Yeah, which is interesting. But anyway, so she's there, and Melisandre says, hey there, we're going to fight now. It's the final boss battle. Here we go. And I just console commanded her immediately.
Yeah, I did not even bother trying this fight.
Yeah, I tried it a couple times, but...
I would have tried it a couple times, but I used up all of my time allotment for today playing video games, bashing my head against the Ravager. And there's only so much time I have to finish this chapter and record this episode. And sorry, noble viewer listeners, but that you're not going to find that level. You can find a level of commitment necessary for us to record 42 episodes of us playing Baldur's Gate. But if you're looking for a level of commitment that would require me doing this fight legitimately after smashing my hand in a car door that is the Ravager fight for 2 hours, look elsewhere, noble viewer listener.
That's not us.
That's not us.
Sorry. I do so I did try it a couple times. And got a little bit of the way in it, but it is interesting. She does like 2 summons back to back. The first summon is from some like very high table, like very high level monster table, and so I got like an Elder Orb and then like bone golems, and then she summons a thing called the Shadow Slayer or Slayer Shadow, something like that, and it's, as far as I can tell, just the Slayer, but. A shadow version. And then they fight you, and I mean, I got her pips down a couple, but I was losing people, and I could tell it was going to be like a big prep fight, and we're right here at the end, so I just...
Did you go to like stage 2? Did you make it to stage... so it's a 3-stage fight, like you get her down, and then she goes back up to the beam, and then you got to like hit a button, and you got to fight monsters over at that button, and then when you hit the button, you cut her off, and you do that 3 times.
That. Yeah, I hate that. I think this is an incredibly poorly designed fight. I would prefer another like Irenicus style fight where you go to the 3 things first. Mm-hmm. Because this entire fight is just designed around it's an attrition based fight. Mm-hmm. Because you can't rest in between them. So just whatever you come in this room with, as far as your spells are concerned, or item, or not item, but item, and then skill usage, all those different skills. That is all you get. Period. Mm-hmm. No more, no less. And I hate that. I don't like the idea of like, I don't know, it being an attrition based fight. It requires you to be able to brute force your way through these fights, and they're all fairly similar, I thought.
Yeah, it's like some elementals or something weird.
Yeah, it's elementals, and then like Meriliths, so like some summoned demons, and then ice trolls.
So, a weird one. Apparently there is a mod called Ascension for Throne of Bhaal that was made by one of the developers. And it does a few things. The first thing it does is kind of fix the Slayer form. When I use Slayer form, like whenever I look at it online, it says, the Slayer form is supposed to give you plus 100 hit points, but it just docks my hit points to 100.
Oh.
And it's just kind of garbage. Apparently the Ascension mod like fixes the Slayer and like makes it more powerful and scale with experience.
Cool.
Another thing that it does is it alters some boss fights and makes them different and somewhat more challenging. I think this one's much more challenging because each of these energy things, instead of just this random assortment of monsters, it's like bosses you've killed before.
I think that would be much better. That would make a whole lot more sense, even. Because she has control of the essence, which means that she could get Yagashura or whatever.
Or
Bodhi, yes. Irenicus, that would be fine. Mm-hmm. It feels like, we got to the final boss battle. We're going to do the boss battle. It's going to be really hard. And then you got to fight a bunch of chumps that are not, something to laugh at. They're hard to fight. And I fought all these, like, chumps legitimately. I didn't console command any of that stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's like, those chumps are only there to absorb your resources, so the next time you fight her in Stage 2, Stage 3, then that will be harder. And I understand that that's, like, how D&D functions, right? The Adventuring Day, how, like, I DM 5th edition. I've DM'd all editions from, like, 3.5 and onward. I get how these work and how the top-down design functions. That is not compelling in a video game.
And you know what? Some people would say it's not even compelling in a pen and paper game.
You're right. 100%. Like, but I feel like it, 5th edition at least, right? Like, that works better than it does in this scenario.
Sure.
Even if you hate them both. But
I mean, one of the reasons why it's supposed to work is there's supposed to be narrative exposition scattered amongst those, right?
Yes.
Right? Oh, you go in there and maybe you have to fight some ice mephits or something, and they are kind of there to just soak up your resources, but you discover something in that room. Mm-hmm. The whole attrition thing really breaks down when it's attrition just in one fight.
Yeah.
Where there's no, like, cool narrative in between the little attrition bits.
Yeah, and attrition in a tabletop game is going to be based on choices that you're making. Like, do you want to rest here and then potentially be attacked by random enemies or patrolling enemies or whatever, or do you want to keep going and you are weaker, but the chances of being attacked or interrupted or whatever are less. It's giving over narrative control versus maintaining narrative control, basically, and mechanical control. And there's no, right, but a video game does not have that, or at least a video game from this era doesn't have that kind of conversational design to it. So I don't much care for it, but anyway, I killed Melisandre. Mm-hmm. And I just wrote down, in my notes, awful final fight. Just awful. Mm-hmm. But then a Solar appears.
The same one.
Our Solar buddy this whole time. Not reveal. I thought at the end it would reveal, like, the Solar's helm. Or a god. Mm-hmm. No, just a Solar, just an angel.
Yeah.
And what did the Solar say?
Solar offers you a choice. This essence got to go somewhere, yo. Right?
Yep.
So you've got You got Melisandre. She's still got a little bit of essence in her. She keeps, very much protesting at this state of affairs where she's been defeated. She can't die because that essence is still in her. We got a bunch of essence in us.
It is welded to her, I think, is what the Solar says. Yeah.
Basically, we can do one of two things. We can take Melisandre's essence, keep it for ourselves, and we become a new god here on this Throne of Bhaal, right? Mm-hmm. This essence is inherently evil. There is no vindication if you were to choose this thing. The forces of good would be arrayed against you for all eternity.
That is very funny. That is not what I got.
Interesting.
Because my reputation is 19 or 20. It's very high.
Wow.
So the way it's pitched to me is that you can take in the essence, but in doing so, you are going to be pitted against, like, the essence is evil, but you can keep it, subdued and then do good things, theoretically. Like, you are not consigning yourself to being evil forever.
Ooh.
But, like, you slip up, you get tempted, whatever, then you might become evil.
No, mine was, it is irrevocably evil. You are because the Solar explicitly says, yeah, you're an evil being, and if you do this, this is what's going to happen.
See, I'm not an evil being. But the other option I thought was interesting, where the Solar says, if you surrender it, and we'll, I guess, strip it out of Melisandre too, and we will go hide it in Mount Celestial.
Yes.
I thought that was a bad option.
You will hide it in Mount Celestial, and this is also the pitch given to me. You will become mortal.
Mm-hmm,
you can live out the rest of your days. All of this, like, drama and shit that's been following you around will stop, right? The duality is, you can, if you become a god, everybody's going to be after you. Cyric, totally going to be after you. You're going to be, like, subject to AO and, like, whatever he's telling you to do. And the forces of good are going to be arrayed against you, and they're going to be pestering you all the time. Hyperdrama. Or you let it go. None of these, like, beings are going to seek you out. You're gonna be finished with this stuff. That is the choice as given to me.
What did you do?
I didn't want no drama. I don't want people telling me what to do. I was like, yeah, funny. Take it. Put it up in Mount Celestial. I don't want any of that shit.
This is very funny. Ticklevar became a god. Nothing sounds better than a force inside of you and a chief god and a bunch of other gods telling you exactly what you can and can't do. And
what your place in the universe is.
Exactly. There's no question.
Mm-hmm.
You're the god of murder.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're up to.
So so you make your decision, and I get a little cinematic,
mm-hmm.
and I immediately am angry at, like, the implications given to me in the cinematic, where it's like, you've chosen to relinquish your power. So there's, like, a little cinematic of a Melisandre. She's trying to get the essence that I've, like, let go, and the whole throne, the Throne of Bhaal blows up, and she dies, right?
Yeah, I got the same one.
And then I get a cinematic. It's like, you chose to be immortal, you let it go, but, people from here on are going to seek you out. You're going to be renowned as, a hero or a villain. And I'm like, that is not what I signed up for. The reason why I wanted this essence locked up on Mount Celestial is so I could go live on a farm and no one would tell me what to do anymore.
Slay the dirt.
I just want to go back and be a dirt farmer anywhere. Just leave me alone. And the cinematic completely contradicts all of that. And it's like, oh, you're going to be renowned. People are going to seek you out. People are going to talk about you all the time. And I'm like, no, I would have just become a god if I was going to have to deal with this.
Sorry.
Immediate regret.
I also got a little cinematic that tells me what I was doing. And it said, you, quote, take your place as a force of balance and good. And I just kicked evil ass all across the universe with my, godly wizard magic. And also the god of murder. Unclear about what portfolio I got. Like, what kind of god I am. But it was unequivocally good unequivocally doing the right stuff in the universe. So whatever, I wasn't unhappy about it.
Did you get any? Oh yeah, keep going.
Well, I got some follow up for the my other characters, my party members.
Oh yeah,
tell me what happened. I'll give you the rundown really fast. Viconia, she founded a cult to Shar in Waterdeep, and then they betrayed her, so she killed them all. And then later, Soldanessalar was attacked by the Zentarim, which we've talked about on the show before, and her and Drizzt Do'Urden got together, and then they defeated them, and then the elves let her into Soldanessalar, and then she decided she didn't want to be involved. A little bit uncomfortable that the only two drow of, like, importance in the Forgotten Realms somehow ended up working together. It's a little, But Valigar, he went to and became chief inspector in Athkatla, and then he reformed the Kald wizards, which is interesting. Saravok just like whipped ass all around the countryside, and like was kind of a defender and a conqueror depending on who you talk to. And he eventually disappeared, but the story tells me that, or, you know, kind of a little note at the end said that he went back to Karatur to bury Tomoko, who was his, like, lover, wife. If you remember, we killed her. I do
remember that, yeah, way long ago.
So he took her back to her homeland to make sure she was buried appropriately. Mazzy just kept adventuring. She created her own, like, adventuring party, and she retired in the ripe old age. And then Nira went and fought a bunch of the Red Wizards. She kind of, like, took it to the Red Wizards of Thay. That's it. That's all. It's my whole party.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's fun, I thought. I like the Viconia one, despite the weird associations that happen there. That you, like, still could not really find peace anywhere. And Saravok, too, I thought that was a really appropriate thing. He was resurrected by us, right? Or by me. And did good, did bad, was really conflicted, but eventually, you know, kind of did a like a very important service for someone he cared about, which maybe means he's a little bit redeemed in the end.
I like that. I like those. It is funny that all of these people's adventures, like, where do you go after you kill a god? And then the leader of your adventuring party becomes a god, and is like, well, peace out. Have cool adventures yourselves.
Yeah.
And then you just, like, I guess Mazzy's just, like, raiding tombs, you know, for another couple decades.
Well, that's my thing too. Is like if you ascended to godhood, like I'm me and you're you. We're in the real world. You somehow ascend to godhood. I think you would be my patron god. I think. Since since we know each other on a personal level, we have the website together. Yeah, exactly. I would try to, you know, take advantage of that. I wouldn't go to Shar. That wouldn't be my, you know, whatever, some other random god. It just feels like if you know someone personally who becomes a god, that just becomes your god. I don't know. Maybe other
That's
people
fair.
Don't feel that way. So next episode, we're going to talk about our kind of big feelings about the series, the franchise. I'm going to commit to reading the 2 Baldur's Gate novels.
Okay.
So I can report back about those. People have asked about those more than one time. We're going to talk about that. And we're just going to talk kind of at a high level about these things. If you have any questions for us that you want us to answer, feel free to put them in the comments for this episode or to send them to us on Twitter. We would be happy to talk about some high-level or low-level questions. This is kind of a big thing that, you know, we finish this game, and then we'll maybe talk about moving into the next game, which will be Planescape Torment.
I think that's going to be really fun. Yeah, I really do consider leaving a question. I think we'll spend a good bit of time answering any that are posed.
Absolutely. And maybe Daniel play a little bit of Watcher's Keep just to get the flavor.
Yeah, I might talk to y'all a little bit about that. I've got the save.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much for listening. If you never listen again, I hope you had a great time doing all this.
Thanks.
But please continue to also listen still.
Yeah, if you've done that, you absolutely love all the content we ever do, or you hate it so much you can't resist watching it.
Yep. You can look down in the description below. You can get a link to our Twitter. You can get a link to our Patreon, where we do another podcast and some other stuff. And you can get a link to our Facebook page, where you will receive more information about the things we do. We are starting an Observer the Video Game Observer playthrough that's going to happen. The first episode of that will be up before this is up, so you can go and look at that right now. It's probably on your screen in front of you to click on. So that's another fun little series that we've been working on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was episode 42. Thanks so much for listening.
Have a good one, and ciao.
So saith Londo.